I've got a feeling that this is going to be a rather different episode of Folk on Foot. We're in the area of Southall in West London, not far from Heathrow Airport, which is sometimes known as Little India or Little Punjab, because a lot of families from South Asia came and settled here in the 1950s and 60s, and it still has a very strong flavour of that community. And we're here to meet our very first drummer. And it's not any old drummer. This is Johnny Kalsi, famous for his collaboration with Transglobal Underground, with the Imagined Village, with the Afro Celt Sound System, and with his own Dhol Drumming Foundation. And Johnny's going to take us for a tour of this area, dropping in on a couple of music shops and a restaurant, and telling us why this area makes such an impact on him and his music. Hi Johnny, I'm Matthew.
How are you, Matthew?
Really nice to meet you. Thanks
you.
for coming. This is Natalie. Where are you going to take us today?
Oh, I'm going to take you to 2 music shops and then we're going to eat.
Well, what are we going to eat?
We're eating some stuff that you've never tried in your life. An explosion of flavours, let's just put it that way.
Fantastic.
Explosion
Oh, that's brilliant.
of flavours.
Well, let's set off.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
Right, so here we are. We're in the heart of Southall, and this is Singh Sabha Gurdwara, which is like a Sikh temple, one of about 4 or 5 Sikh temples in Southall. And basically, what we're going to pay our respects to our holy book.
What do we have to do when we go in there?
Basically, the 2 main things you do is cover your head and take your shoes off, and then wash your hands. That's all you have to do, and not be intoxicated.
Right. Well, I'm not intoxicated. Will they give me a head covering to wear?
They will indeed. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's go in.
Come in. Come in. We take our shoes off over there. So this is a very important place where your feet and your shoes are all together. So basically, it don't matter how much money you've got, it don't matter what walk of life. In here, everyone's equal.
Right.
Because your shoes go in the same place.
Take them off.
Exactly. And then we wash our hands after touching our feet. So basically, when we go into the hall, at that end is our holy book, and it's on display. So our holy book is like a living entity. So he's our last guru that died in the 1700s. He basically said, after me there won't be any more gurus, but this is the scripture of all of our 10 gurus. They were prophets, and basically the scriptures, they were placed in one book, and it's the Guru Granth Sahib, so it's a living entity for us. So we treat it like a living entity. So we walk to the front, we bow, and then we put our head on the floor to basically signify we are lower than the Almighty
Deity. Yeah.
We don't have a name for God. Our God is the universe.
Right.
It's within every living thing, which is why, it's all about humanity.
I've always associated Sikhs with the turban, with the beards and so on. But do you have to have a turban and a beard to enter the building here?
No. Certainly when my parents came over in the 60s, a lot of Sikhs, they started cutting their hair and shaving their beards off because they couldn't get jobs. You know, particularly a lot of people that got jobs in London transport, they didn't want people with turbans and beards because people felt intimidated getting on a bus with a driver. So a lot of people cut their hair and shaved their beards, and they kind of ended up staying like that. But you know, although
it's still important to you as part of the religion.
Yeah, I mean, it became my identity. When I was younger, I had the choice to either cut my hair or keep it. But I was already playing my drum, and I felt it kind of went hand in hand. But that was me being a teenager, not thinking about religion and more thinking about the image of what I do.
Right. So you like the image of the turban and the beard?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's become my identity.
And you are a bit of a natty dresser, I have to say,
yeah,
Johnny.
I'm a bit snazzy,
you're all in black
like
today with lacing up the front of your shirt and some bangles and necklaces.
It's normally the women that notice that, but yeah. But I'm glad you did.
Yeah, it looks very smart.
Awesome,
I'd say.
thanks.
Listen, let's head off to the music shop.
Yeah, let's
see if we can find a drum.
We're going left, and over the bridge.
Now, the first thing that strikes you in here is there are one or two drums.
This is like, it should have been called the House of Drums, isn't it, really? But they do all sorts of instruments here. So from little drone harmoniums like that, which are quite incredible instruments. They're just like, it's so. And
we've had a few of those on Folk on Foot before.
There you go,
so you can pump the air with your hand and then play the keyboard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
but then there's rack after rack of drums.
Dhol drums, and tablas, and it's.
And what is a dhol drum? Just give us the definition of a dhol drum.
So a dhol drum is basically a large wooden shell, and traditionally would have been covered on either side, like a hollowed out barrel, either side with goat skin, and one side would be treated and basically paper thin, and then stretched over really tight, and then the shape of the instrument used to be rounded like this to basically maintain the tension in the ropes. So you see how it's strung.
Yeah, the ropes run along the sides.
You can't even lift it off the drum because the shape of the drum is keeping the tension, and so because of that, it would have a contrasting sound, a high end on one side and a low end on the other side, all in one drum.
Do you think they'll let us borrow one?
Yeah.
Shall we try and get one?
Yeah. What's now? Are you all right?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Beena Musicals, we've been here for over 45 years, and it's a family business. Grandfather started it in Delhi over 80 years ago. So we're the third generation, and my mum was called Beena. So when she was born, my grandfather changed the name of the family business to Beena. So we're known for our harmoniums worldwide. That's what we started from. And I know that Johnny used to come when he was much younger, and I was much younger as well. And he used to spend time here with my dad, and he's one of our favourites.
You've got Johnny's poster up.
We have. Go for it. Do whatever you need to do.
Play some instruments?
I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
I must be honest with you, Johnny. I'm not sure what's in tune, what's not.
That's all right.
You go for it.
I'll
Yeah?
tune
Do you want me
don't
to get in the step ladder if you want to get from the top? Or I'll get the step ladder.
Thanks, darling.
Because the drums are just going up to the ceiling here. There's a rack and rack and rack and rack.
You should see when they've got a delivery. The whole floor's covered. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So they're all sort of like nowadays, right? Obviously, because, like I said, traditionally they would have goat skin on both sides, right? The thing with that is bringing these drums over to sunny England, the goat hide absorbs the moisture in the air, and it affects the tuning and the tension when you've got a skin that's like 13, 14 inches. So it doesn't hold the tension.
So have the goat skins been replaced by artificial materials on some of them?
Yes, indeed they have, yeah. So basically most of these now have got hooks, and they are synthetic plastic skins on them now, which makes them maintenance free, really. They don't absorb the moisture so much.
So you don't mind that? You don't mind the change from the goat skin?
Do you know what? When you're doing like 8 gigs a week, doing it with a goat hide won't work. It won't
wear out.
And then the other problem is, if it rips, one of these you can change in about 20 minutes. One of those ones you have to unstring the whole thing, and it takes about 2 hours.
Right.
By which time your gig will be finished. Yeah. I think maybe 3 times in my career I've been on stage and I've had to swap a skin over or swap a drum over. This is a tabla. It's tiny. This one's a nice one. And it's not like a normal drum. I mean, just to get that one sound out, probably when I was a kid, took me a good part of 4 weeks every day practicing just to... So it would ring like that. Have a go.
Okay.
So basically you're putting your pinky and the next finger on the edge of the drum, just resting it gently. Middle finger stays in the air, and with this part of your index finger, where the line is, the top line has to meet that line there. So, and you let it bounce off. Very relaxed motion.
Try it.
Right there.
There?
There. See, you're biting your lip now, so I can...
Concentrating. Okay.
So the sound that we're after...
I'm not getting such a good sound as you. Is that because I'm not hitting it hard enough?
The attack and the decay. So the attack is the point of contact from your finger hitting the skin. The decay is the sound afterwards.
So why am I not getting that? Let's try that. Why am I not getting that?
Okay, so the reason you're not getting it is because you're actually pressing down rather than bouncing off.
So
relax your finger. It's got to be a hit.
Obviously, I'm not musical.
So we could be here a while. So there's 2 sounds, and the other sound, that's on the edge, that's known as na or da, and that's a thin. You can hear the difference in the tone. And then you've got dun as well.
How do you do that?
Hit it crossways. That's probably an easier sound to get. For me. I'm determined to make him make a sound today. Just too stiff.
Too stiff?
Yeah, just relax it. Relax it all. Let it go floppy.
Okay.
And then just... No, floppy. And then use your hand. There you go. Look. See what happens?
Oh, I can get used to this.
There you go. And then you have muted sounds that you make on here. Did it get the da? So
fantastic.
Basically, the phonetic language of tabla can be spoken between 2 tabla players on a bus without the aid of a tabla.
Right, so you just use the
phonetic language,
the spoken word, as it were.
And then basically your fingers, the lines on your fingers become your metronome. And there's 16, 1, 2, 3, 4. So counting from the bottom line of your pinky to the middle one being number 2, to the top line being number 3, and the very top where your nail sits, number 4. So 4 on each finger, 16 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And your thumb is the counter. And that becomes your metronome. Or you can go straight across 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So basically, when you're learning tabla, one thing you have to understand, between 1 and 2, we have 64 beats.
Right. So what?
So you've got like, you've got the 1, and then you've got 2. Then you can have 1 and 2. You can also have 1 E and a 2. Yeah, and then it kind of goes on from
faster and
so
faster
it goes
and faster.
faster and faster. So between 1 and 2 in tabla, there's 64.
Can you show us that on the drums?
Yeah, if you want. So it's just a speed thing, basically. So you've got, let's say. That's a whole cycle, right? That's a whole loop. 5, 6, 7.
So when the immigrant families came here, it was largely looking for work.
Looking for work, yeah, and the prospects of a better life, more wages and better education for the kids, ultimately. But, you know, my history goes back to, like, the 1900s, the time of the Raj in India, the empire.
Your history does, your family history does.
Yeah, so
Well,
my
tell me about
granddad,
that, yeah.
my granddad, when he was born, it was under the British flag, and he was given empire passports, British Empire passports, British ones.
Right.
So,
Where did he live?
in India, Punjab,
Right.
and then basically he got married in India, and then they left. The reason they left is because the empire then took over East Africa. He worked on the railway, and he was one of the main guys that did the overhauling of locomotives. So anyway, my whole family were born in Kenya. Their first language as they grew up was Punjabi at home, Swahili at school, and English. They went to British schools. And my dad, he married out there. Mum was from Mombasa. My dad was from Nairobi. And yeah, my whole family were all Kenyan. So basically, here's the thing. People with turbans like this, with pleats down one side and slight pointy, they're from Kenya.
Oh, is that right? There's a distinctive turban.
If you see Sikhs with round turbans like you did in the temple there, they're from India.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Big difference.
And what brought your family to the UK?
Well, in 1967, a real nasty piece of work called Idi Amin came into power in Uganda.
Yeah.
And he basically said, everyone with a British passport, get out of my country or I'm going to kill you. And because Uganda is a neighbouring country to Kenya, they started hearing over the wireless that it was happening over the border. As soon as my grandparents heard that was happening, they left and came straight to England. And once again, because my granddad, he was, he was a skilled engineer. He came here and started working for one of the steel works in Leeds. So he settled there because, the steel industry was massive up there, So yeah, and my granddad fought for the British in the Second World War. He was a rifle engineer.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were born in Leeds?
I'm a Yorkshireman, yeah.
Nice to meet another Yorkshireman.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Pleasure, yeah. And then when I was 2 years old, they moved down to London.
And to this part of the world? Southall?
Yeah, not too far from here, Hounslow, yeah. And
Wasn't it?
the thing about my granddad working in that, the Bristol Archives, they got in touch with me. It's only about 4 or 5 years ago. And they said, we're doing an exhibition. And the exhibition's called Empire Through the Lens. That's what it's called. And they had a whole archive of photographs of the British Empire from India to Africa to absolutely all over. And they said, we need to select you as an artist to pick one photograph.
Really?
Of I'm talking a few 100,000 photos.
Oh my goodness, how did you make the choice?
It was difficult at first, and ultimately I was looking for Indian instruments. I was looking for a Dhol drum, and I did find a couple. But the one that really struck a chord, I'm going to show it to you now because I keep it in...
Got it on your phone?
Yeah, I've got it on my phone. The one that really struck a chord was this one here. And the reason it did is because of the story I've just told you of my granddad. So I'll let you describe it.
Oh, wow. It's a locomotive being built, isn't it? It's a big steam engine being built, and it's hanging from a crane above a team of men who are working on the wheels down at the bottom. And is that by any chance your granddad?
It's not, but he did the same job as my granddad.
Right, yeah. So
that would be unusual if it was.
It would be extraordinary if it had been your granddad.
Of a few 100,000 photographs and then finding him. But this is the very workshop that he worked in.
Wow.
In Nairobi.
So that is part of your story in a way. That
this was
picture.
A part of my hereditary past, my nomadic past. Yeah, if you like.
Yeah.
And here, just at the bottom, is the details of my name and my granddad's name and everything. It's all.
So that's the caption from the exhibition.
From the exhibition.
And so your story was told in the exhibition.
Yes, it was.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So your family story and your heritage must be hugely important to you.
It's important to me in the sense that what I took from that and what I turned into and how I actually shaped my life, I thought I was quite unique only until I got into my sort of late teens fighting the NF in Hounslow.
National Front?
Yes, the National Front, yeah. Who was a movement that didn't want to see any of this.
And they used to stage marches through this area, didn't they?
Through the other side of Southall.
To protest against immigration and a community setting itself up.
And there was
here.
a fair few riots as well.
Right. And so did you did you use your fists? Was it a violent resistance that you were putting up, or was it?
It was, yeah. I can't lie. It was definitely violent, yeah.
And it must have been, the atmosphere must have been really tense and dangerous.
It was, and a lot of people moved out of Southall because they didn't want to get involved in all of that. That movement, it wasn't only in Southall, but, even in Hounslow bus garage, there'd be like gangs of boys, skinheads, in those green jackets and ripped jeans. I'd never forget it because their image is just so... And Dr. Martin boots. That image will stick with me for the rest of my life because that's, and that was a sign of like... It was looking at a pack of wolves, dogs, it was like that. Until two of them came along, and then me and a few other Indian chaps, we decided to pick on them for a change and see how they liked it. Until one of them got away, ended up running into a pub, 20 of them came out.
Oh my goodness.
And we ran. And there was only like 4 of us.
You were in fear of your life.
Absolutely, yeah. And we got a good kick in. We got a good hide in. But one of those chaps that was with me, his name's Bobby Friction, who's now a Radio 1 DJ.
I know him very well, yeah. I know Bobby Friction.
Yeah. So there was quite, it was quite funny because... from that movement, I kind of, we all listened to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan at home, and at schools we'd listen to like Duran Duran and Led Zeppelin, and it's just...
I'm just interested in how you felt as somebody who was born in the UK, brought up here, British as you come, finding these people coming to your area of town and trying to throw you out and threatening you with violence. What did that make you feel?
Very confused to start with, because even growing up, even in schools, when I'd have fights, I'd hear constantly, go back to your own country. It was only till later when I got a little bit of education because they don't teach you about the empire in schools. They don't tell you about British history like that. They tell you about kings and queens and about stuff here, but they do not tell you the truth. That's the problem. And the truth was that they came to our country first. And they raped all of those countries. And even though my granddad even helped build the railway and help them overhauling as you've heard, what they were actually doing was building a railway so they could rape the land of its minerals and all its gold and I mean, that diamond at Kohinoor, the one that's in the coronation crown, that massive diamond it belongs to India. Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing about all of that is
plays with your head, doesn't it?
It does play with your head, because I was told go back to your own country, but
that's
that was. And then, even growing up, the question is, where do you come from? And I go, well, I was born in Leeds, here, UK. But where did your parents come from? And I go, oh, they're from Kenya. And
that really confused people.
That's not the answer that they were looking for. And they go, what about your grandparents? I go, oh, they came from India. I knew you were going to say that.
Eventually they get back there because of the way you look.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they make the assumption, and then they just kind of go, oh, that's what he does. He plays an Indian instrument. He must come from there.
Bravo! That's amazing.
Thank you.
And you're getting a round of applause from the people in the shop too. That's amazing. I mean, presumably it's not an instrument you always play on your own. I mean, you would normally be playing with other instruments around you, would you?
Yeah, so basically with the Dhol Foundation, I started out teaching people, and it was a school. We ended up with like 400, 500 drummers. Wow. At one stage, with 14 different institutes.
And you've done appearances at folk festivals as the Dhol Foundation, haven't you?
Yeah.
What do you do? Take 20 drummers with you, or
on occasions? Yeah.
Right. That must be some sound. Yeah. And are they all playing the Dhol drums?
They're all playing a Dhol drum. Yeah.
Wow. You could hear that some fields away, couldn't you? You could hear it.
Oh yes.
County away.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
And what's the atmosphere like on stage when you're doing that?
Oh, it's electric. It really is. So with that many drummers playing in unison, it's just like. You can feel the rhythm going through you. It's just a wall of drums and a wall of sound of these incredible instruments playing out rhythms that you just can't help but move to. That's basically what it is. Infectious rhythms that people just want to dance to all the time.
And how does it go down at a folk festival when you've got, normally you've got the singer with the guitar, comes, or somebody with a fiddle or a bit of a squeeze box or something like that. How does it go down when you turn up with 20 of your mates
it's interesting.
And you start to feel the vibrations in your stomach?
One year at Cambridge Folk, I heard someone in backstage saying, well, it's not exactly folk, is it?
And what's your response to that?
Well, I kind of just laughed, really, and I went, no, not really, it isn't.
It's not what they mean by folk.
It's their interpretation of, I think they were expecting British folk music.
Yeah.
But they obviously hadn't heard of the Imagine Village back then, so...
Well, and let's talk about the Imagine Village, because the Imagine Village was a project put together by Simon Emerson, wasn't it? And it brought together English folk musicians like Martin Carthy, Eliza Carthy, Chris Wood, Billy Bragg was involved, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was,
Jackie Oates at one time, I think, sang with it, with musicians from South Asian background.
Yes, it was myself, Shima, Andy Gangadin, and Simon Richmond, who's on keyboards, Ali Friend, who's playing bass. Yeah, it was.
And the repertoire was English songs. by and
it's
large,
just,
but
English
with
folk
these
music,
extraordinary instrumentation.
Oh my God, I learnt so much being in that band about the traditions of English folk music.
The sound that you created was like nothing I'd ever heard before, because it was repertoire, here were songs that I kind of knew,
yes,
but with these added resonances from the Dhol drums.
Well, I mean, Cold Haley Rainy, that's just like one of my all-time favourites from that.
Frozen to my head, my feet are like two lumps of lead. I'm stuck out here, half drenched, half dead, from standing under your window. Oh, let me in, the soldier cried. Cold, Haley, windy night. Oh, let me in, the soldier cried, or I'll not come back again.
Oh, my father, he watches down the street, and my mother, the bedroom key she keeps, and the doors and the windows do creak, and I dare not let you in. Oh.
So those people at the Cambridge Folk Festival who looked at you and your drummers and said, that's not folk, was the message, well, this tradition can go in a number of different ways, and it can embrace people who've arrived in this country, more recently than 1843.
Yes, exactly,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can embrace people with different musical sensibilities.
Well, I mean, how did folk get a label itself? It must have started somewhere. It started from someone singing songs, basically. It started from someone picking up an instrument and then deciding that this is going to be a part of the folk category.
And of course the guitar wasn't really an acoustic guitar wasn't really an English folk instrument.
A citern, a bouzouki, all of these instruments, a banjo, all of these instruments weren't traditionally a folk instrument, but they became a part of it as the music grew, as the stories grew, and I think the music had to grow naturally with the stories, and the accompanying instruments gave it another added sort of different flavour. I'm still fascinated, just even watching Show of Hands, just watching Miranda on the bass, just going, how is she doing that? It's incredible.
And you've done a gig with Show of Hands, of course, recently, didn't you?
Oh, I love Steve's he's just amazing. I love him to bits. He's just incredible.
Steve Knightley of Show of Hands, of course, been on Folk on Foot on the podcast, and is an old friend of the podcast, in fact. And so he wrote a song, I think, inspired by you, called Mother Tongue.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
I had an idea for a song that I didn't know how to put out because I'm not a songwriter, but it was just, I thought, a fabulous idea. Brexit was quite current then, and lots of people were thinking of just leaving England altogether. But basically I approached Steve, and we've been threatening to work together for about 6 years. And I said, I've got an idea for you if you want to have a listen. The song goes like this. In the first verse, he says, if I leave you, would you forgive me? And then in the next verse, he says, when I'm away from you, would you think about me? And in the third verse, he says, if I come back to you, would you recognise my face? And ultimately, you think that he's talking about a woman. And it's not. He's actually talking about his country. And then when I said that to Steve, he went, oh my God. And I said, but it's all about people living in a different land. And so Mother Tongue was born after that. So I made a track just by doing that. I made a whole song. Originally it was called Guinness.
Why?
From the Guinness advert, with the horses going, and the left field track, doom 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 doom. So I just kind of thought this will make a really good track, so I called it Guinness. A friend of mine came in. He's an amazing picabage player, that big instrument over there, and he'd done a prayer on the start of it, and I went, "What are you doing that for?" And he goes, why? It's called a Ganeshpa, and Ganesh being the god that used to play that instrument. Ganesh is the elephant god, and that was his instrument, the Bakavaj. And he goes, that's the instrument that Ganesh played, our god. I was like, okay, there's a problem. He goes, what's that? I said, well, you just turn this track into a religious track. He goes, why? I goes, it's called Guinness. He goes, well, you have to change the name. I went, right, okay. So we called it Ganesh.
And what about your musical journey? Because you've talked about growing up on Led Zeppelin. What was kind of you've got the Led Zeppelin T-shirt on underneath.
Yeah.
There you've got the Robert Plant T-shirt.
So, do you remember?
And then you ended up, by the way, we should say, you ended up working with him, didn't you? The man you idolised as a teenager.
In 1997, while I was with my band Transglobal Underground, we ended up touring with Led Zeppelin around the Mediterranean, and I befriended Robert Plant.
That must have been like a dream come true, was it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I was quite blasé.
Was he
I was quite
as you would
blasé about it all.
Well, obviously you'd got to be cool, hadn't you?
Yeah.
But
totally.
was he as you'd expected when you got to know him? I mean,
he was. At first, I was like, "Oh my God, you're Robert," and he just put me straight down and said, "I'm a human being. Stop it, Johnny." And I was like, "Okay, I'll stop now."
So I just wanted to tease out the other influences on your musical journey then. So you're listening to Led Zeppelin as a teenager and you're taking up the drums. When did you get your first drum?
So my first drum was from my savings, and I was about 13 years old. Big Dhol drum.
So you took up the Dhol drum, you taught yourself.
Yeah.
What did your mum and dad think about it?
They thought I was a complete idiot.
Did they?
Yeah.
What did they want for your future?
They wanted me to be a doctor or an accountant or a solicitor or something of that sort.
So did you have arguments with them?
I was a rebel, yeah. A real rebel, because my passion and everything was in the music, and it had started at age 7 without them realising, because they thought I'd learn the tabla and then play it in a Sikh temple. But
that wasn't your idea.
That wasn't. Yeah, and I took it to a different level altogether, to the point where I started touring at the age of sort of like when I mean touring, I was like doing wedding gigs at 14 with a Bhangra band, playing tabla.
And was there a moment when they became reconciled to the idea that this was going to be your career, this was going to be your life?
When I started doing some serious tours in 1989, and I was doing...
What age were you then?
I was 21.
Right.
And I was doing gigs abroad.
Did they come and see you play?
Yeah, now they do, yeah, absolutely. And it was, the thing about Asian community is when my dad used to go to the temple, everyone would kind of like, dig in the knife and say, oh, my son's just got a degree and my son's just done this and now he's doing architecture or whatever. And
your dad would say, well, my dad's doing it and my son's doing a bit of drumming.
Yeah, he'd be, exactly, it doesn't quite cut the same. Until I appeared on TV. And everyone approached my dad and went, I saw him on telly, really good. And then this became a regular occurrence, you see. So after some royal events, we opened for the Commonwealth service at Westminster Abbey. That was good. And
amazing occasion.
It was just a really epic one, that one. We did a drumming piece that I put together from one of my previous albums called Drummers Reel. And the start of it starts with the zoom, like this one hit on the drums, and then there's and I did that on purpose because I wanted people to feel the ambience of Westminster Abbey.
where are we going now, Johnny?
Across there is the old Southall, and you see that building, the white building there, was the original Tudor Rose, which was a dance hall, and there was a lot of West Indian people that used to come here and do their like dub plates and reggae nights and purple haze and smoke lots of funny cigarettes when you could smoke indoors. We are going now from the old Southall, which is where we were, to the newer part of Southall. When I mean new, I mean like as Southall expanded and became bigger, the original High Street turned into Southall Broadway, and we're going there.
And what sort of a place is that?
Oh, you're going to see nothing but jewellery, food and clothes.
Right.
And one music shop in the middle of it all.
So we might fetch up in the food,
I think-
and we might fetch up in the music shop.
Yes.
Rings, bangles, bags hanging from the ceiling, decorated with sequins and pearls, and the whole shop is shimmering. And these are such vibrant colours, aren't they? So quite beautiful, bright pink and a sort of aubergine colour, and then a bright green and gold. So much gold. So this is a huge store with some beautiful jewellery.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So these are all like the real deal. None of this is costume jewellery.
Amazing.
Completely different from the other side. This is all real.
So these are gold bangles.
Yes, 22 karat gold.
ये हल्के हैं नहीं?
ये है 110 grams.
110 grams of
My
22
goodness.
carat.
But they're beautifully worked.
Yeah, it's all
Aren't they?
it's all hand done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a feel.
Feels, it's got a weight.
Yeah. This is
good.
8,250 pounds.
Beautiful.
Yes. 8 grand.
8 grand.
8,250.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that
fantastic?
Isn't that amazing?
Thank you so much for letting us come in.
Thank you, Marat.
Oh.
So now
wonderful.
you're smelling the barbecue and the food and like, you know, I'm getting more hungry.
I'm getting hungry too.
Yeah, good. We're going to a nice place. I've got to show you how they make jalebis. Jalebis are quite amazing things.
What's a jalebi?
A jalebi is one of these, look. So it's a batter that's fried, and then it's dipped in that sugar syrup right there. Once it comes out,
my goodness.
Watch. There it goes, and it takes on all the flavour, and they push it down. It sucks all that sugar syrup in, and they come out like that.
My mouth is watering.
Yeah, totally. Come on, let's go in. Four. There's no politeness with this. Finger food, you eat it on the street. This is how you do it. I'm going to demonstrate. They've all got the holes already done. You basically pick up your chickpeas with this brown sauce is tamarind, and you put it in there like so.
Sort of pastry case.
Like that much, and then you get one of these, which is the spice water. And in the spice water is this thing called black salt, and black salt is sulfur. It's volcanic salt. You'll be able to smell a little bit in there amongst the spices.
Oh yeah, that smells really good.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I love black salt, and you basically fill that half, and it goes straight down the hatch. No bite. Don't bite it because it will just dribble all down your.
I love the expression on your face. You look like a man enjoying his food. Yeah.
I'll do one for you.
Okay, thank you. You put the chickpeas into the little case.
A bit of potato. Get that in there. There we go. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
And this is the juice, and we only fill half because otherwise
It goes everywhere.
containing it.
Spice
There you go.
water.
And
Right,
straight
and straight
in.
in.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Did you have?
The explosion of the different spices and all comes into your mouth.
Isn't that amazing?
It's delicious and it's very refreshing actually.
It is quite refreshing, yeah.
So we're back on the street.
We're back on the street now, and
where are we going?
After that hearty meal.
I know, exactly. I was thinking maybe, a sit down and a slight snooze might be in order, but...
That'll be back at the temple now. Yeah, we're just going to walk like a few doors down, and then this music shop was basically, it started out on top of another shop. So it's a renter space on top of another shop.
So it's basically jewellery shop, restaurant, jewellery shop, restaurant, jewellery shop,
jewellery
restaurant,
shop, jewellery shop,
sweet shop,
and then another jewellery shop,
and then a music shop,
and then music shop further down.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know the people in here.
Oh yeah, for years. Yeah. Let's still got the back of the store.
So this is very popular.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very good,
Hello.
Very बहुत देर हो गई थी.
You can see I know over there. Hello. Yeah,
Hello there.
Yeah, how are you? Very good.
Yeah, very good. Carry on, I'll speak to you in a minute. Yeah. So we're here, and this is the famous jazz musicals in south of Broadway.
And the place is absolutely crammed with musical instruments here, isn't it? Whoa.
That's a harmonium.
Somebody's coming in to try harmonium. There's a bit of the mail order being packed and sent out.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of drums behind the counter.
Plenty of drums.
Tablas, Dhol drums, sitars over this side,
Yeah, absolutely.
and guitars.
And guitars as well. And
over
violins up there. Yeah.
Violins, yeah. I just love the potential in a musical instrument shop. When you're in here, you just think of all the sounds, all the music that is going to come one day out of all these instruments.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring, isn't it? And then you feel that sense of complete inadequacy, if you're me, when you think, well, I wish I could play one of them. What have you got there?
This is called an iktara, but I'm just trying to... Oh, here we go.
So it's
quite
got one
offensive.
string.
It's got one string. That's what iktara means. Look, even you could play it. Yeah. So basically...
You see, I'm already a virtuoso on that one. Well, that was a great sound, isn't it?
That's a
I
very
like
unique
the effect that it creates. The effect.
Yeah.
कितना किया ले ठीक बड़ी बड़ी बात मैंने सुन गई थी ना मैं 10 से आ रहा
हाँ मैनू तन मैं दस्या सी अगर तू मैं दसेगा नहीं तो मैंने याद नहीं आएगा
यार ये देखिए याद नहीं रहा
Great sound, isn't it? Wonderful. What is the name of the instrument?
It's called Gopi Chand.
Gopi Chand
Gopi Chand, yes.
We wondered if you would mind if Johnny would play some drums for us. Would you,
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind?
No, not at all. Yeah, Johnny can play any drum.
Oh, that's very kind
I
of
don't
you.
want to disturb anyone else if you're
No, please go ahead. I look forward to hearing drums.
You just popped in for a harmonium.
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful instrument.
Yeah, they're all beautiful in here. So nice.
What are you going to play, Johnny?
Let him
one's
play
up there.
first.
I thought I'd pick a nice one out.
Whoa,
Pacinza.
slightly precarious coming down there.
Pacinza. Paci.
This one's got the strap as well, Johnny.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I'm just wondering whether you
strap it on.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I'm not used to this length.
No, maybe it's a bit...
On this,
It's like playing with a low-slung guitar. You don't want it down...
Yeah, it's low strung guitar, that kind of
Yeah, you don't want it down there, do you?
Yeah, down there. Whereas this one, you have to adjust your arm positioning if it's too long. So
Right.
it's all a bit weird. But basically, what happens is subconsciously you get the blueprint of your own drum, and then you don't have to look for. It's a bit
It's
like
quite hard
if you're playing
adjusting to-
keys. Not you know where the keys are,
Yes.
where the ebonies and ivories are.
Yes.
So it's almost the same with the drum, whereas my gauge is probably about here.
A bit shorter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about here, and this is 2 inches longer.
So you have to adapt your style.
I have to, yeah. I'll give it a go.
Okay. That's got some volume.
Oh yeah, this is nice. I like this one.
That's fantastic. And threading its way through our conversation all day has been this issue of identity and belonging and where you fit and what kind of music means what to whom and all of that. Do you have an answer now about, what kind of music you make and what kind of music you think of as folk music?
Yeah, I think I do, yeah, actually. I've learned a lot about folk music playing with, obviously, for the likes of Afro Celts and Imagine Village. With the Dhol Foundation, I never considered ourselves to be folk of, like, British folk music, but now more so. More so. Much better, actually. We're folk!
We've had an amazing time.
Yeah, it's been
Johnny.
great.
Thank you so much for showing us this
so
area,
welcome.
for telling us your stories
Yeah.
and playing your instruments for us. Just been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Johnny Kalsi in Southall. We have filmed some of the performances that Johnny did here in Southall, and we're going to put them in our Folk on Foot on Film archive. If you want to get access to that, all you have to do is sign up to become a Folk on Foot hero. You make a small monthly contribution which goes back into making more episodes of Folk on Foot, and then you get access to this glorious archive of more than 100 songs and performances filmed on our travels around the United Kingdom. So if you want to do that, please sign up at folkonfoot.com and click on the Support Us button. We love making Folk on Foot, and we can only do it thanks to your support.